Hello everybody, DarkPhoenix Gaming here, and welcome back to Let's Play Vampyr. Okay, full disclosure before we get started, this video, and in fact this entire series of recordings, is going to be an after commentary, because I managed to fuck some stuff up with my recording, and it didn't record my commentary properly due to some stuff with the noise gate and what have you. Anyways, last time we left off, we had just gotten into this neighborhood and chatted with a few people, and we are currently in the midst of trying to figure out this whole situation with blackmail and all of that, so it's time for us to get started with that whole thing, I think. Though I fully have to admit I may be completely wrong on what I'm actually telling you, and my commentary could be a little off because I don't like doing after commentary. I've never enjoyed it. It's always been a little awkward because I prefer doing every bit of my commentary live as things are happening, and not after the fact where I have to struggle to remember what's going on and try and get it right. But I will do what I can. I can't really promise you any more than that. And here we have the nutjob priest preaching his insanity about how we should cleanse the world with fire to deal with the plague. He is, in a word, an idiot. In 2 words, he's a fucking moron. Yeah, shocking as it may be, I don't actually like him very much. I know, you're horribly shocked by this, aren't you? You'd think I'd love the insane priest who wants to destroy everything with fire to get rid of a plague and doesn't believe in science. You would think someone like Dr. Reid here would love that sort of company, but no, we don't actually like him. So shocking, isn't it? Hello, mute florist. And locked gate. Okay, Whitechapel Old Road. I think I went over there and then decided that I would come back later after I dealt with some more pressing matters, but I don't really remember. Yeah. At this point in the video, I think I'm basically wandering around and trying and struggling to find something. I'm not sure what. Oh, right. I remember now that I'm looking at this. I'm supposed to be finding a mailbox and letters as well as talking to someone. And this area back here, I went into it before, but got killed because there's 2 or 3 feral vampires in this area. The Skull, I seem to remember them being called, who are basically just that, feral vampires. And in any case, it's time to engage them, because you start out with there being just 1, but then 2 more show up. And this is one section where, even though I don't like after commentary, it's kind of handy to be doing it like this, because in the actual fight, I have to focus a whole lot on the battle itself, because if I lose my focus, I will get hurt badly and die. As happened the first time around, I was focusing more on my commentary than my combat, and it got me killed. Maybe I should consider something like that for a series in the future, just doing after commentary for battles, and doing my commentary during the game for things like conversations and in-game political debates and that sort of thing. I'm not saying I'm definitely going to do that, but it's certainly an option to consider. Oh, son of a bitch. I always hate it when they do that. That leaping bite attack is one of the most annoying things these Skull have. I detest it. And it's causing me to use up no small amount of blood, healing myself as a result of them doing stupid amounts of damage. but that's 1 out of 3 dealt with. Unfortunately, the last two are basically full health, or just about. So, unfortunately, this fight is going to go on for a decent length of time. But, lucky for me, I don't think they'll come back after I kill them. Or, if they do, it'll mean that I'll just have more experience fighting and killing these guys, which is always kind of nice. But this fight brings up another point that I've started to notice recently in my recordings, that being that I don't exactly use all of my special powers as a vampire all that much. Because my weight that I've started fighting, or rather that I fight throughout the course of this recording, tends more towards melee combat and evasive dodges than really using my special powers. Like, I'm more likely to dodge out of the way of an enemy attack and throw and stab them repeatedly than I am to use my blood spear to do a massive amount of damage. Even though I have those abilities, the majority of my blood tends to be expended on things like healing myself. Even though I have these other options, I often forget to use them in combat. It's not intentional, I just focus more on the quick, immediate things that I can get done, rather than stuff like blood spear, which I have to take time to wind up and actually remember that I have the ability to do. It's a little bit annoying after the fact, but I can't really be bothered to care about it all that much. And right now, as you can see, I'm just basically wandering around and looting a bunch of things because I wanted to get all the items of value out of the environment I could before I went in this area, because at this point in the video I was fairly certain that it contained the person that I was looking for. Nithercott, I think the name was, the poet. And right now I'm just basically talking about the hideouts and saying how the ones that are in red are probably ones I've discovered, which, as it turns out, wasn't actually the case, because, as I would discover later, ones I'd been into didn't turn red like that. So I was completely wrong when I said that in my initial recording, which is one reason why it's nice that I'm doing this after the fact. I can correct myself and fess up to the stupid things that I've said. Unknown over there is Mr. Nithercott. Yep. And prepare for after commentary reading of dialogue. And some dialogue being interrupted and stuff.
I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that.
Yeah, because sometimes I misjudge how long something's going to be on screen for in these kinds of videos.
I'm a poet, sir. Richard Nithercott, at your service.
Okay. So, we're going through personal questions first, and apparently we somehow know the Mute Florist is a plot, and that needs a hint of the things I was going about. Not first. It's interesting. You're seeking inspiration in Whitechapel. Why is that exactly? It's not exactly the most safe of... It's not exactly the safest of neighborhoods to be in. Why'd you choose Whitechapel exactly, Mr. Nithercott?
Tell me, Mr. Nithercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
Interesting. So, do you have
In
any
what way
examples to
The
share?
struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles and the added hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox, the stripped humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the
Okay, I kind of have to admit that's a little bit bizarre, but then again, poetry's never really been my thing, so it might just be me, who knows. And looking at his blood quality, he has a cold, so I probably end up fixing that at some point, but I don't remember at this exact moment. And there's a couple people around with illnesses, some of which we don't exactly know how to fix yet. So they'll have to wait. But it's not a little... Don't you think it's a little morbid around here?
Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much, and that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know.
Yeah, when I first did this and the commentary that didn't record, what I actually did was I mistakenly thought when he said Camellia that he was talking about the prostitute, not the mute flower girl. Which was kind of an embarrassing mistake to make. Mistaking a florist for a prostitute, that is more than a little embarrassing. And would probably got me slapped if I said it out loud, or rather, if Dr. Reid did. And we could potentially eat Camellia now for a lot of experience, but I'm not going to because I actually like her, so no. So you don't really know her then, is what you're saying, I guess.
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives? How she survives? Whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
Reality can be dull. I've never heard that one before. But I'm not going to ask about him being afraid or anything, but she's part of a little plot around here, you know. Though I'm not quite certain how we know that.
Is a member of a secret
Oh, a secret society. We're just talking about that whole medical thing because she, Camilla the florist I mean, is actually handing out flyers for free medical service done by Dorothy Crane, our colleague.
I fear you are a hopeless romantic, Mr.
And yes, he is very much a hopeless romantic. So you aren't curious about her in the slightest. That's
You're
interesting.
not curious? Is there not more you wish to know?
That girl has not an ounce of malice in her. Whatever she may be hiding, it's certain to be for the benefit of most, if not all.
Well, that is a very nice way to look at it. We've already asked about Whitechapel. But yeah, at this point I think I basically decided we could do the small talk later and we just go to the main one. That being the line, I'm looking for Dorothy Crane.
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not? I'll be glad to help you, if I can.
Okay. Darius Petruscu. Let's see. I'm not sure. Did we decide to ask about Dorothy Crane or not? I don't remember. Because I think we did, and my justification was something along the lines of we had gotten everyone else's view and it seemed a little contradictory, so I wanted a new one.
The Crane of Whitechapel. Sounds very mysterious. But sorry, no, never heard of her.
And yeah, that was kind of interesting, because if you remember, Joe, whatever the guy's name was, that thug we met harassing the merchant, said she was a nice girl, but the merchant in question said she was kind of annoying because she helped refugees and cut into his
At first, I thought he
profits.
was only a small publisher. I invited him to publish my work, but his reaction was pretty clear.
Not interested in your talent?
Darius is an old political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writing skills.
And yeah, that gets us the point about Darius being a Romanian political activist, which is kind of interesting. I like how they're folding in actual history stuff into the game. It's kind of nice. And now I think we are done with him. Which means that now we need to find where this letter and mailbox are. We unlock that gate, meaning I have an easier route back into there, and if those two boss type enemies do spawn, then we don't... if they do spawn, then we have a way to get around them if we need to talk to that guy again, Mr. Nithercott, I mean, without having to kill those 3 enemies all over again.
It's locked.
But right now we're doing a little bit of one of those old search this general area for an item type of objectives, which I kind of like. I like it in a lot of ways that they don't tell you everything and just sort of leave you to investigate. But now what I'm doing is basically trying to use the hints to see if Camilla is willing to share anything.
I understand he is quite...
But, as you will discover, as it turns out, she doesn't want to say a damn thing, and even using the hints just gets us silence. Which I found to be very interesting, because she has to be the only character that we have met so far in this game that when you made use of the hints, did not want to reveal anything additional. And she would just continue being silent, no matter what hints you had access to, which is kind of interesting.
Very well.
But no, despite the fact she's not sharing anything and would get us a massive boost in experience, we are not going to eat her, because I actually like Camilla. I think she's a really nice person, and am not going to make her my dinner or anything like that. As much as some people probably think I should. Whitechapel Old Road over here. Yeah, I briefly go in this direction, but there's a couple of vampire hunters that way, the Pruin Guard. And I decided that I did not want to get involved in fighting them at this moment in time. I eventually decided that, anyways. And then I just tried to go the other way and discovered there were more of them down that way, so I just gave it up and went back to searching to try and locate and basically I was trying to locate the letter and stuff again. And here it is. My dearest, most beloved children, I am so sorry you have not heard from me for a few months. Basically, this is David Petruscu saying he's sending it's a letter he wrote to his kids back in Romania, saying that they're probably not going to see him again before he dies. and him saying, "I love you, but I'm probably not going to see you again before I die." That's the long and short of it. I would read it out, but I'm doing this after commentary using my video editing software, so the text is too small for me to effectively do that. That's the problem. So you're just going to have to put up with a rough summary this time around. Fortunately, I think I've fixed the problem that will require after commentary. So any future recordings, I shouldn't have this issue.
Of Darius' letter to his children could
But now that we have the letter, I have the option to get into Petrescu's place. But I decide that before I go there, I want to make some medicine. Because he has bronchitis,
should not be that difficult to
and if I can put together a cure for that, it would make a decent goodwill type thing. Because we don't want to shut down this place, we just want to deal with the whole blackmail situation. And at this point, I was saying how I didn't believe that Dorothy Crane was actually responsible for the blackmail, that it might have been a false trail. That's basically one of the things I was saying. And that maybe this would just be a one thing leads to another type of affair, where I would learn something about how... Basically, I would learn something about how she knew something that could point me in the right direction as someone who would maybe be the blackmailer. That was my thought process at this point in time. But right now, I'm heading back into the hideout so I can make some more cures for the disease. Or, not cures for the disease per se, but there's a few people scattered around this area with certain illnesses that I do have the ability to fix at this point in time. And I am working on that at the moment, is what I'm doing. Because there's Mr. Petrescu, who has bronchitis, and one or two people who have a cold. And I am fixing their diseases right now. Unfortunately, there are a couple of people around town who have diseases that I cannot heal at the moment for various reasons. I don't entirely remember what it is that unlocks the next level of cures, but it's something I'm going to look up in between this recording session and the next one, so that I can start curing more people. And right now I'm looking it up and seeing that we have one person with a cold and one person with bronchitis. And just looking through the various districts to see who needs cure to what. At this stage, I'm looking into the local investigations, but as you'll see, those don't actually end up going anywhere, just because I really didn't want to have to fight through the enemies I was going to have to go up against to reach the locations for those investigations. When looking at this, I figure out that I can make a treatment for cold, but the treatment for bronchitis, there are some resources I'll need for that I don't have at this moment in time. So I'll have to go and visit the merchant to get those before I can cure Mr. Petrescu's bronchitis. And I also decided I wanted to have the cure for bronchitis on hand, before I decided to go and confront him. And in here, there's a couple of enemies that have been hanging out in my hideout, which I decided to go and kill. Rather futilely, as it turns out, because these fellows will actually respawn once I die. So my killing them doesn't get me much beyond items and experience. It doesn't clear out the area, so I can make use of my hideout without needing to worry about enemies. But it does have the potential to get me a few items for the purpose of loot and such. So that's probably part of why I decided to do this. But it was maybe not the wisest of decisions, because I do get hit by that jumping bite attack quite a few times, and it costs me a lot of blood to heal myself as a result. So looking back, it was probably a mistake to go into this fight because it vastly reduced my blood supply, and in a lot of ways I kind of need to keep a high blood supply to be able to fight certain more powerful enemies effectively. And as you see here, not only am I down in terms of blood, I'm also down in terms of health, and have not the blood I will need to heal myself properly. I mean, sure, I could sleep in the bed and heal that way, but that's not the most viable solution, because certain people will see the effects of my actions, and I want to get some more stuff done. And at this point, I'm reading a collectible. And the long and short summary of this collectible is, it was someone who was studying vampirism who then came to draw the conclusion that vampires drink blood basically because they're addicted to the feeling that drinking blood gives them, not because it fulfills some kind of need, as in, it's not the equivalent of eating a meal for humans. It's the equivalent of being high on cocaine or heroin, basically, is the way that I equated it. Which, that's a very interesting way to do the whole why are vampires addicted, or not addicted, why do vampires drink blood? That's a very interesting way to do the whole thing on why vampires drink blood, and I thought it was kind of interesting. But now I'm needing to find the exit to my hideout, and repeatedly trying to use the wrong door, but getting some loot out of it. And then finding the right one to a loading screen. One good thing I have to say about Vampyr is, as much as I wish the loading screens were more substantive, a good thing I can say about them is they are damn short. Especially in comparison to one of my favorite games that I usually play quite a lot of, that being Shogun 2 Total War, where the loading screens are literally long enough that I have seen people use them to give history lessons about feudal Japan. I'm not even kidding. I have seen that happen. That's how long those loading screens are. So I am very happy that the developers of this game managed to make the loading screens nice and short to a degree. I mean, I have run into a few that are rather on the long side, but still, I'm glad they're as short as they are. I don't remember what I was doing at this point, just wandering around, trying to find my way back into the main part of town, I think. So that I could buy some stuff, and running across a vampire hunter or two. Well, I originally thought it was one, it turned out to be two. And then it turned out to be three. And I ended up fighting the bastards.